Hello and welcome to STARCAST for the 8th of October 2021. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, the host of Planet Waves FM and the author of the Planet Waves Horoscope, with a little information about the strange astrological times we're living in and the strange times generally. First, a house announcement. I'm planning on a new edition of Planet Waves FM to go up on the planetwaves.fm site on Friday the 8th by 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Usually I am done a bit early. The show is on demand. It's not like it happens and then you can't find it again. So it's once it's up, it's up. And again, the website is planetwaves.fm. The program will address a marketing committee meeting starring Tony Fauci, which took place on October 29th, 2019. With a bunch of people looking for a new universal influenza vaccine and discussing the rebranding of influenza into something scarier and sexier. Yes, those are their words. Okay, let's go to the astrology. I've taken up 90 seconds of your time promoting my radio show. We are now in the throat of this very unusual aspect. Mercury retrograde, conjunct Mars, conjunct the Sun. This is a slight carryover from the new moon, which was the moon conjunct the sun conjunct Mars. So Mars and the sun are in a long conjunction that extends for a good few days, and it had two peaks. One was the new moon, and then the second peak is going to be on Saturday at 12:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All times in this podcast are Eastern Daylight. And as I explained in last week's edition, and we'll describe it in a slightly different way, many different cycles are turning over at the same time in the sign Libra, and they also involve the ruler of Libra's opposite sign, Aries, which is Mars. And so it's like there's a visitor from far away across the zodiac in Aries showing up in Libra, which is the sign of relationships. It's a little like having someone show up in your bed. You're in a relationship, and then someone like who you don't know shows up in your bed and announces that they're going to stay for a while. Well, you might not like that too much, and that's a little bit how Mars in Libra feels, particularly in all these conjunctions. Another way to look at it, a little bit less, let's say, content-oriented and more just structurally, is that there's a whole series of new cycles that are turning over in the sign Libra, all at the same time and all involving Mars. So the Sun-Mars conjunction, the Moon-Mars conjunction, the Sun-Moon conjunction, the Mercury-Mars conjunction, the Mercury-Sun conjunction, the Mars-Sun conjunction, etc., 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 all turning over within a couple of days. Now, my analysis of this, which I broke down in a series, or let's say explained beautifully, in a series of video readings called Metamorphosis, is that I think this is the localization of the big astrology going on in Aquarius and Capricorn. By localization, I mean that often there are big movements in society, things that are going on, economic shifts and political shifts, but many people don't experience them directly. They don't actually feel what's going on or are able to connect it with some subject matter. And here we have these big movements coming home to roost in a way that is intervening in and frankly ripping apart many of our personal relationships. There is no need, based on any influenza-like virus, to rip apart the Thanksgiving dinner table, or to rip apart the family Christmas party, or to rip apart the community on the 4th of July or Bastille Day. There is no reason that any influenza-like virus should be able to rip apart a marriage or a 40-year friendship. So when you see these kinds of things happening, but the excuse is some kind of a medical jargon, you can be sure that there's actually political activity taking place. The thing about most political activity is that it is in the abstract. It usually exists in theory or as a thing that you watch for 5 minutes on CNN. But now the war has come home. By the war has come home, I mean it is ripping apart friendships and sisters and brothers and sisters and husbands and wives and parents and children. It's ripping apart organizations. It's ripping apart marriages. And that's what this Libra astrology, to me, is really about. It is about an antagonistic influence getting into the midst of our most intimate and personal relationships. That antagonistic influence, in this case, is represented by Mars. Mars can represent lots of things, but in this case, it is certainly showing up as an antagonistic influence in an environment that wants balance, peace, and harmony, that being Libra. So the question is, how do we handle all of this? And there really is only one way to handle it, which is in a mature adult fashion, but it is not easy or maybe even impossible to handle things in a mature adult fashion when people have given up their ability to think and reflect and have conversations and to conduct themselves like mature adults, meaning the ability to listen to one another, the ability to respect one another's views, and the ability to not go to outright war over nothing. And look, you can't blame the unvaccinated person for getting thrown out of the Thanksgiving dinner party that's gone on for the last 25 years at Aunt Mary's house. You can't say that they are starting a war. They have done absolutely nothing. So, mature adult reflection would mean, what's really going on? Maybe I need to consider my views more carefully before imposing them on others. Maybe I need to listen to other people and find out what they've got going on and their motivations for doing things before I not only judge them, but also deliver the sentence and the execution. So right now we're seeing a lot of that, let's just skip the trial and go straight to the execution part going on. And to me, that is more disturbing than anything any corporation or government might do. As an investigative reporter covering corporations and government since I was 19 years old, way back in 1983, it is perfectly clear to me and should be clear to everyone that these entities will conduct themselves in absolutely immoral ways. But that's not us, and it does not have to be us. And I would add that this sense of constant, nonstop danger is not only unnecessary, it is sickening. Part of the role of an astrologer is to counsel people in the use of their minds and their ability to make decisions, and whether what they're perceiving is accurate, and whether what they're perceiving makes any sense at all. So in astrology readings, a lot of these kind of, at least in my place, honest conversations happen about what's realistic and what makes sense and what is honest and what is dishonest. And the kinds of stuff that I'm going down really are suitable for advanced psychiatry. There's a lot of the DSM coming up here, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. There's a lot of things that should get DSM codes, even though I don't really believe in them. All kinds of obsessive compulsive behaviors, all kinds of clinical paranoia coming up, all kinds of antisocial behavior, social phobias, all of this being stoked by, yes, television and the internet. A lot of people think that if I'm terrified of something, that thing must be real. Why must it be real? Well, because I'm terrified of it. But that's the nature of fear. And it really does not make any sense logically to say that if I'm terrified of it, it must be real. What would make more sense is to say, there's this feeling that I have. There's this stuff going on that is really bothering me. What is my reaction to it sensible in any way? Is this a loving reaction? How do I treat my friends? How about how much do I really know about this thing that I'm pretending to know a lot about? Say, for example, viruses. I have a question. You may have a lot of opinions about viruses, but have you ever read a book about viruses? So anytime someone is making not only opinions, but judgments and delivering sentences, and they haven't read a book on the subject, check yourself and check them. Because we are right now in the process of destroying ourselves. I'd like to close with a quote from a book called Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. This is from book 3. I think it came out like in 1998 or 1999. And I'm not sure you're familiar with the concept of Conversations with God. It used to be a really big thing, and it was kind of a dialogue that Neale Donald Walsch was having with a kind of a voice in his mind who was saying, identifying itself as, the voice of the Lord. And this is the one that really struck me the very most. Let me see if I had it a second ago. All right. So I call this passage the Atlantis passage. And it's about civilization being in a very dangerous place. And the voice of God says to Neale Walsch, quote, "As I have said, this is not the first time your civilization has been at this brink. I want to repeat this because it's vital that you hear this. Once before on your planet, the technology you developed was far greater than your ability to use it responsibly. You're approaching that same point in human history again. It's vitally important that you understand this. Your present technology is threatening to outstrip your ability to use it wisely. Your society is on the verge of becoming a product of your technology rather than your technology being a product of your society. When a society becomes a product of its own technology, it destroys itself." Let's not go there. Let's not completely succumb to the same hubris that we have succumbed to before, because it looks like we are not only at the brink, we are over the brink and hoping, some of us anyway, hoping for a parachute to open. I will leave you with that for the day and remind you that Planet Waves FM goes up tonight on the planetwaves.fm website. If you'd like to see what I'm going to talk about, go to planetwaves.net. I've got the rudiments of the story right on the front page. The Libra reading is done. It is beautiful. You can find it on the Get a Reading tab on the top of the website. You can also get the Metamorphosis reading, half-hour readings for all the signs. We're including them free with any full-year membership to Planet Waves. So get a 1-year subscription, and you will get the Metamorphosis readings. That's about all I have to say. Once again, thank you for joining me. I'll be back with a new edition on Monday evening, signing off from Kingston at 10:54 a.m. Eastern Time. This is Eric Francis. Bye for now.